bit nervous to do this because all eyes are on me, but I'll try and do my best. I wanted to talk about peer-to-peer fundraising for small organizations because just to share my experience or the experience that we have had as an organization in terms of trying to find ways to raise funds and resources for our organization in order to advance our mission. So, as you heard, my name is Purity. I'm the director at the AM Kenya AkaMusyi, which is an organization here in Kenya that was formed to help, connect women with opportunities of literacy and expand their futures by creating access to opportunity and other ways or pathways for personal and economic growth. The slides have
Sorry,
disappeared
I
from
don't
the
know why
screen.
they've just gone. I'm so sorry, Purity. I'm just trying to find them again. Here we go. So sorry. So sorry about that. Here we go.
It's okay. So please feel free to ask questions as we go to contribute to the conversation. As I said, I'm just going to be speaking on our experience and share some tips and tricks that we have learned along the way and exchange ideas on how we can advance some of these tactics to work long term. So you can go to the next slide and we can get started.
Great. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I'm so sorry, Purity. Let me just. Oh dear. Is that the right slide?
That's what I just did. So let's go to
Okay.
the next one. So next. So basically, our organization is less than 2 years old at this point, and we came in at a very tricky time in the nonprofit world where getting funding has become trickier and trickier, and you sort of have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get recognized, in order to get people to believe in your mission and what you're trying to do. So we figured that we had to get creative with how we wanted to get funds to advance the mission because we were hesitant about waiting around until we were able to get our first grant or our first moment of recognition from a big donor or anything like that because there are other bigger, more popular organizations that we are literally competing with for recognition that we might not really stand out amongst, but what the work that we are doing is also important. So what we decided to do, just to give a background, I have a background in marketing. So I am a growth marketer by profession, and I have strong expertise in customer acquisition. And so I figured that I would transfer skills, like I would use a mode of skill transfer to try and see what that experience or what that expertise can do for the organization on in terms of getting people to buy into our mission and whatever it is that we were trying to do. So the first thing that we did was think about our environment. So here in Nairobi, here in Kenya, people our strongest population is the millennial population, and these are the people who are currently stable and in the middle class, and people who have already established their careers, the people who are in a very specific, stable kind of space. And these are the people who are our peers. These are the people who are surrounding us. These are the people we see every day. These are the people we talk to every day. And everybody has a belief system. Everybody has things that they believe in. Everybody has things that the things that they want to buy into and promote and things like that. And so you just have to find those that align with what your organization is about. So initially, we had started out sort of online fundraisers where we would try to put out something and call for donations, or we try to put out needs out on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or on these other channels that we had, and try to get a buy-in from people like that. But then we discovered that once we raised this money that we would raise online, a lot of this money will go into resourcing the things that we need in order to advance the mission. So a lot of these finances will go directly into other people's pockets and not really directly into the community, which is a bit counterproductive when you think about it. So what we did is that we decided to change tact. We decided to change what we were really doing, and we started sourcing for resources as opposed to sourcing for actual funds, like actual money. We started sourcing for people to volunteer their skills, volunteer their time, volunteer all sorts of things that are resource based that could help us ultimately advance the mission. So, in simple terms, what we do is that we work with women and girls living in rural Kenya, and we connect them with opportunities that help them advance their literacy, whether it's by providing them resources and access to vocational training and vocational schools, providing them access to actual literacy where they learn how to read and write and all of these other things. And so a lot of actual money is needed to do that because you need to actually pay for school fees, you need to actually pay the vocational colleges for training and things like that. So all the money that we collect, we direct it towards this exact purpose, which is actually paying school fees and doing all of that. So as I was saying, what we did around Nairobi is that we took advantage of the millennial population that we currently have. And if there's any Kenyan here listening right now, they can bear witness that Kenyans really like to party. Kenyans like to be outside. Kenyans like to have fun. And that's why everyone wants everyone around the world don't party with Kenyans. But Kenyans really like to be outside. So what we did is that we wanted to take advantage of this fact to let people know about our mission, to get a buy-in to what we were doing. And so the first thing that we did was look at this common factor that everyone had, which is that they like to be outside. And the other thing is that Kenyans love music. And so they also love music by Kenyan people. So Kenyans like to support Kenyan music and Kenyan artists. So we decided to create a game night or to make a game out of these two areas of interest, where we were putting together Kenyans and Kenyan artists and Kenyan music and creating an entire game out of it in order to be able to raise funds towards the mission and towards everything that we wanted to do. So that I think I'm 6 slides in now. Everything that I've been saying is on the next and next and next slide. So you can hit next at your convenience, easy. So when we thought about it, we saw that first of all, hosting events is very expensive. You need to pay for venues, you need to pay for entertainers, you need to pay for certifications, you need to pay for so much. And big organizations, they do these galas, they do these elegant big dinners where people pay a lot of money for a table, a lot of money for a plate. But we are not at the level where we could pull that off based on our limitation of resources. So we set out to basically look for resources and look for people who were going to have for people who could create symbiotic relationships with us. So, for instance, when we're looking at an event venue, you start with an event venue. So we started to source for event venues by looking at people who have spaces and who have restaurants or bars or just event spaces in general, and they have low foot traffic. So they really want their business to get recognized. They want people to know their business, but they're not able to do that maybe by limitations in marketing, limitations in resources. So this is how you create a symbiotic relationship where the first thing is that when sourcing for a venue, we wanted to promise foot traffic. We wanted to promise customers who are going to come in and buy and do things at the venue. And then the other thing that we wanted to make sure happened was that the venue also got value from us. So it got visibility from the people that we were going to invite. It got profits from the sales that they were going to make on that day. And that way we can be able to create a clean exchange without having to necessarily look for more money to pay for the venue. So looking for other people who are at the levels that you're at, who are looking to benefit from whatever you have to offer was a really important part of this. Then the next thing that we did was that we looked for artists and influencers who are aligned with the mission and vision that we have as an organization. So we spoke to Kenyan artists, we spoke to Kenyan influencers, we spoke to a lot of people in the public scene who already have a lot of visibility and large platforms to help us amplify the message around the event and around everything that we wanted to do. So around this game night, what we had set up the event out to be is that we wanted to have to bring in people to come and party around Kenyan music and answer questions around do Kenyan music trivia, do Kenyan music karaoke, do a lot of like play games that are themed around Kenyan music. So the first way in which we were able to raise funds for this was that this was a ticketed event. So in order for you to access the event, you buy a ticket and then you get access to the event. So we had early bird tickets, we had regular tickets, and we had gate tickets. And so all of this money that was raised through the tickets went directly into the mission, where we were able to actively, directly, well, pay for the school fees for the ladies that we work with. So this is a very direct pipeline. The other thing that we did was that after we got the venue, after we locked in the venue, after we spoke to artists and influencers and other people to amplify the message, we got a lot of sales in terms of ticket sales and everything, and a lot of buy-in that way. So then we proceeded to organize the event in a way that is going to be fun and educative at the same time. So we wanted people to actually know what the organization is about, what we are here to do, and how you can be able to create direct buy-ins. So by either creating sponsorships for individual girls, creating a way to have membership where you can be able to pay a certain amount to the organization and get like an accountability file at the end of the year together with reports on everything that has happened through the year and all of that. So we were able to bring people together and pitch our organization and pitch what we are about and get people to actually directly buy in that moment and get people to figure out how more they want to support the organization while being actively present in the venue, in the scene. So I found that looking around you and looking at what is available around you is a very creative way to get past the barriers of fundraising. Looking at what you can be able to offer other people and what they can be able to offer you in the process of fundraising is also really important. And so if you go to our Instagram page, so we have a really cute, cool Instagram page. So if you go to our Instagram page, AkaMusyi, I'm just going to type it here, guys. Sorry. If you go to our Instagram page and you scroll down to before the game nights, you see that we normally put out all these posters and all this content around who is going to be making attendance to the game night, who is going to be there, who is going to be playing, who is the DJ, who are the artists, we have surprise artists. So we create events and create FOMO around said events as well, because Kenyans are also very FOMO driven. So we create a lot of FOMO around the events that we host in order for people to be able to want to come in and see what is actually happening. During the events, we set out fun games to fundraise in between, where considering that it's a game, we're actually playing games, people get very competitive. So we create ways to make fundraising fun in between we create little scannable cubes and other fun prompts to get people to fundraise. So, for instance, if you're in a competition with somebody and you start to yell or you start to scream at them or something like that, you're required to pay out a certain amount of money, which makes it really fun and makes the fundraising really exciting. If you lose or if you make your team lose, your team has to pay out a certain amount of money. If you use some common phrases that a Kenyan will obviously use, if you find you're required not to use it the entire time when you're in the venue, and if you use it, you pay out a certain amount of money. So we gamify this entire process from the moment people walk in. We create dress codes, and with this dress code, we say that you can only wear an outfit that's Kenyan themed or a Kenyan flag themed. So if you're outside of the dress code, you pay a certain amount of money. We just make everything a game and fundraise in a way that is exciting for both ourselves and the people in attendance. So that has really been a very captivating way for us to raise money, and it has been replicable to other organizations that, well, Friends of AkaMusyi basically, where we have helped other organizations create games around fundraising and whatever it is that they do as well. The other thing, we had the initial event that followed all of these tactics that I'm talking about. But then the other thing that is really important in this process is accountability. So we have had two game nights so far. So after the first game night, we sat down with an accountant. At the game night, we actually put forward all the ways in which people could be able to volunteer their time, volunteer their skills, volunteer their resources and other things. And in the process, we wanted to get an accountant for bookkeeping and for the sake of accountability to the general public and everyone who had been in attendance of the game night. And so we sat down with the accountant. We did all the work that was required around figuring out how much money we had raised, how many girls were able to go back to school with this, and everything in between. And so we went ahead. We were able to pay school fees for these girls to go to vocational college. We were able to capture videos and content around this with their consent, of course. And during the second game night, this was the trailer or how the event started, just by showing the videos of the girls who were able to actually go back to school based on the money that was raised in the previous game night, showing the actual numbers of what was raised and how the breakdown has worked in terms of how the money has been utilized, because that way people feel more confident in supporting your organization, and people feel more confident in terms of the fact that their resources are being utilized and they're being utilized well. So that was a really important part that we had in our second game night. And the other thing that was really important was that we now really created recognition for the people who had then contacted us after, in order to provide skills, in order to provide resources and all of that, because those are at the level of a small organization. Those are our actual donors. Someone who is, coming to you to actually pay school fees for independently for a person. That's an actual donor to us. Someone who is coming in to do your bookkeeping instead of you paying an accountant. Someone who is coming in to do your social media instead of you paying a social media person. All of these are actual donors because they're providing buy-in into your organization. So we also take time to recognize them. And then the other thing that we really made sure to do was create an impact report that shows each and every way in which we have utilized all the money that has been fundraised through the year, and show the direct impact to the community, and show how everything has been spent. Again, this is also an accountability thing in terms of making sure that everyone who has been a part of the journey feels like they're a part of your community and feels like they know and understand what is happening within your organization. Yeah, any questions? I feel like I've just been talking at this point. Uh, does anyone have any questions or comments or any information to help us add?
I think it sounds amazing. I want to see a photo. I want to see this in
Oh,
action.
Have you got any
So
photos?
everyone
It sounds so fun.
everyone needs to take out their phones now and go into Instagram because we document all of this stuff.
Oh,
So
okay.
please go to the chat box here on Zoom and click on the Instagram link provided, AkaMusyi.
What's the name of the account?
AkaMSyi. And then you'll
Oh
scroll
yeah.
down. I don't know whether easy you can put it up on the screen so that I can show people exactly where it
Is
is.
it on one of your slides or
No, it's on the chat here, like it's a link on the chat.
oh sure, sorry. Thanks, Hours. Yeah, I can oh
Yes,
thank you.
this
Hours
is
is
the one.
great. Thanks, Hours.
So you'd scroll down. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see it without logging in, but let's keep going. Keep going, keep going. Oh no. So you can, okay, you're on the second game night slide there. The photo where someone has a nose ring on the thumbnail. That's the second game night reel. I don't know whether you're able to click on it and see. Is anyone logged onto their Instagram where they can be able to play this for us? Let me try and log in on mine.
Otherwise,
Just
we've sent the link if you want to. You've probably got until about 20 past 12 Purity for
There's
your
a,
session.
there's a link in the chat.
Yeah.
If someone has their Instagram open, already logged in, you'd be able to see it.
yeah, I'm just trying to log in real quick so that I can share it.
Otherwise, we could always continue with your presentation, Purity, and then whilst you're doing that, maybe someone could log in and we could look at it at the end of your
Okay.
presentation if there's time. If you agree,
Sure.
let me
So
screen
I
and then.
actually wanted to do a presentation just using Instagram because
Oh, I
this
see.
would
Oh,
have
that's
been
fine. That's fine.
significantly cooler.
That's okay. Let me share mine then. That's fine. I did. Sorry. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah. So the one with the nose ring.
That's the second one. So let's go to the first one. Let's scroll further down first.
You let me know which one it is.
Okay, okay, okay. Keep going. Keep going. So I'm going to start with the prefacing of the game night. Scroll further once more. Okay, perfect. So you can see we started out by when I talk about buy-in from influencers and other popular creators. What that does is that it creates, it sort of legitimizes what you're doing, and it creates the vibe that whatever you're doing is really cool and people need to attend and come and see what it's about. So showcasing the people who are going to be in attendance was really important. So the once you scroll just once more. Okay, perfect. So the people that are visible here, these are some of the biggest MCs here in Kenya, especially in the Nairobi scene. And actually, these are not people that I knew before any of this. These are not people who I had any relationships with or I was friends with in any way. I just went to their Instagrams, got their content, got their contacts, and I called them and I looked for their numbers amongst people. Because the worst that could happen is that they could say no, and if the worst thing is no, then I might as well take the risk. So I called a lot of people, I got a lot of no's, but I got a lot of yeses as well, as you can see. So we got buy-in from some of the biggest influencers. We were able to show some of the biggest DJs. We were able to get surprise artists from some of the biggest Kenyan artists. So if you keep scrolling, now we go back so that I can show you the video, which is really cool. Okay, there you go. So right after Happy Mother's Day, there's a video there. There's a reel. Yes. So after that, we showed a trailer, a quote unquote trailer of what happened. And of course, everyone who was in attendance was able to talk about how fun it was. Other people who were not in attendance obviously had FOMO because Kenyans are very FOMO driven, guys. You have to figure out what works for your audience. You have to figure out the behavior of your audiences and the behavior of your community. And so if your community is big on having a good time or having fun, you have to find ways in which you can buy into that and do something with it. So we have the videos and the trailers that you can watch because it's very slow here, but yeah, you can watch it at another time. we got a big organization here called Qual to be a part of the event by donating the drinks that people had in the event. So people bought drinks, and all the money that came from people buying these drinks went directly into the mission as well, where we were able to ultimately raise more money in order to pay for the school fees and everything else that we need. So if you keep scrolling, some of these people that you're seeing are also big influencers here in Kenya. And so just showing that they had a good time, they posted, they tagged us. And then after that, we were able to start showing the actual impact of everything that we are doing with the money that we had raised. And as you can see, after we celebrated a year of being around, we got a call from Microsoft CSR where they wanted to partner in terms of providing digital literacy to members of our organization and everything. So the picture that you see with people crowded in wearing the same outfits and myself in the front, we had gotten this contact from the actual game night where someone had been in attendance who works at Microsoft, and they thought that what we were doing was really cool. They wanted to be able to do something with us, and we felt like it would be a really cool experience if they were able to give us a digital literacy day, which was really great, and everyone in attendance really enjoyed it. And we have made a lot of strong contacts that way because a lot of organizations have strong CSR departments that tend to do a lot of things around the community and all. And so the people in attendance, people who show up to these events, people who show up to these pop-ups are people who work in this organization. So they are able to pitch you, and they are able to talk about what they have witnessed in your events, through interacting with you and other things to their organizations, which creates buy-in from these organizations as well. Because since then, we have had a good partnership with Microsoft in terms of the number of collaborations we have created in creating digital literacy in rural Kenya amongst women and girls living in rural areas. So you can close that and then you'll scroll back up and see what we did for the second game night. Immediately after that, you went too far. So yeah, the second one is the one with the nose ring there with the glasses right before. Yes. So we had a second game night that was super fun as well. On the second game night, we raised more, but we had lower attendance because we conflicted with a national event, which was our bad, of course. But we had a more national level event happening around the anniversary of Kenyan music in a certain cultural aspects here. So we just did a smaller version of what they were doing with the big one. And people still came through. We raised a lot of money on this day as well. And after our event, we proceeded to the bigger event where we went to crash a bigger event and fundraise in a bigger event. And how we did that was that on the venue, on the day of the game day, we had t-shirts that we were selling that had QR codes to our website and to our donating links and everything that had very quirky writings on them, like, donate if you love girls and things like that, and hot girls support girls, and scan this if you are a hot girl who supports hot girls. And we just got creative with it. So when we went to the bigger event, we took advantage of the people in the other venue. We took advantage of the fact that it was a highly populated place to just get people to fundraise. So we got ambassadors in the attendees who bought the t-shirts because they bought them out. And we had over 100 people just loitering around and getting donations and collecting donations and getting people to scan QRs and send donations to us. That's why I say that we made more that day because of how we were able to create an ambassador form of fundraising by taking advantage of an existing event as well. So yeah, well, it's just about getting creative with it and, creating ways in which you take full advantage of what is around you and what is available to you. Because when you look around, there's always going to be a resource. So you just have to figure out what the resource is and what to do with it. So yeah, now all questions are welcome. I'm done with the better part of the presentation.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Purity. I feel like, well, you've given me loads and loads of inspiration. And it's such a joy-filled way of fundraising, isn't it? I haven't been able to keep an eye on the chat because I've been sharing my screen. But oh yeah, I can see that there's a question from Caroline. So Caroline said, in our organisation, we've found that the videos of appreciation from the girls in Mozambique have been the most motivating in the UK. But now we have the video afterwards. And so yeah, that's brilliant. Jo, are you happy to share your slides, or did you want me to from my end?
Yeah, I can do it. Have I got the ability
Yeah,
to?
you should just be able to share your screen, yeah. Brilliant. So Jo, you've still got 40 minutes because we've pushed it back. We're just reducing the lunch break, so you've got until 1 o'clock, which includes time for questions as well. So yeah, again, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We can go through them at the end. But yeah, over to Jo and Bhaskar from Child Rescue Nepal.
Great. Well, thank you for having us, and thank you, Purity. It was brilliant. And I think our session really works very well with yours. Ours is also about an event that we experimented with, but in the UK. So it probably wasn't as super fun, and it was £10 rather than £7. That's inflation, and I'm not sure there was any FOMO for our event, to be honest, but it was a really interesting event, and it was the first one we've done, and I wanted just to share it with you really, because I hope that there's some ideas that will spark with you. And so my name's Jo Bega, and I'm the Chief Executive of Child Rescue Nepal. We work in Nepal, so our work's a long way away, and we've always struggled with how to make it real and relevant to our audience here in the UK. And I think that's probably challenges that a lot of you have. We also struggle with, we don't have big budgets, we need to be creative. And something I'm really passionate about is the what small charities can do that big charities can't do. So today I'm going to really focus on that and show that small can be our superpower. But let me just get Bhaskar to introduce himself as well. He's presenting this with me, and he's in Kathmandu.
Namaste, I'm Bhaskar Karki, and I'm the country director of Child Rescue Nepal, and I'm based in Kathmandu, Nepal. And I've been working in this sector for the last 20 years. Thank you.
Brilliant. So then you're going to get a bit more of me, not because I'm more important than Bhaskar, I'm not at all more important than Bhaskar, but I was the one who actually ran the event. So it's a bit difficult for Bhaskar to talk about what happened in the event. But we are going to talk about how we made that kind of link up between the UK and Nepal and bringing our supporters closer to the work. So that's the aim of the whole session, and I hope you enjoy it. And hello to everyone who's got their screens off and are sitting probably working and half listening, but it's really nice to have you as well. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you take something away that you think, we could do this, we could do something like that. That's the idea of this session, is not that you replicate this, but just to spark some ideas, so that you don't think, oh, it's just too overwhelming to do events, because I'll tell you what we did, and it was really fun. So how do we get to the next slide? I'm going to fall at the first hurdle. Maybe I should get easy to do this. She's a young person.
Well, I didn't do a great job with Purity's. You're already doing better than me.
There we go. This is a really good slide because AI designed it for me, and then it had a meltdown. So the rest are like really basic. But this was some of the feedback we had from this crazy event we did in February. So not charity is a buzzword, but charity is a relationship, respect, and shared joy. From the moment scarves were placed on our necks, it felt like we'd been welcomed into something bigger than ourselves. I feel I now understand about your work much better. We are planning to start becoming supporters. An evening that reminded me how powerful storytelling is, not just to inform, but to connect hearts across continents. So you've probably heard this before, and I will never kind of forget this, but people give when they feel emotional. They don't always give when they feel that someone's given them a very logical argument and persuaded their head. They give when they feel something, whether it's sadness or anger or joy, but actually people give and connect when they feel emotions. That's really what I'm kind of trying to focus on today, and that's what we were trying to do with this event. And I'll tell you how we did it. But first of all, a little bit about the problem. This isn't our actual supporters. It looks very evenly spread, but I'm sure as small charities can relate to the fact that you've maybe got a small amount of donors, they're older and they're spread throughout the country. This is our situation. So for a start, running an event is a challenge because the people who we work with don't want to come out in a night. They don't want everything to be London centric. And I completely get that, but we don't have enough to have a centre anywhere else. So we're already asking a lot of people. And so we're almost at the point is like, is it worth doing events or not? It's, you know, there's myself, I'm full-time. We've got 2 part-time staff. We're really not a big organisation in the UK. So just to give you the kind of size of where we're starting with in terms of our team. And then I also find, I mean, I don't know, people, I'm not sure they want to make the effort to come into London and maybe get accommodation, pay for the tickets to sit and watch a PowerPoint. I think people could almost do that from home. And we do Zoom calls where people can stay at home and they can interact with staff and with young people in Nepal, which is another conversation. But, you know, to do an event is a big commitment. It costs money. And as a small charity, we're thinking, is it going to be worth it? Is it worth our while to do all this effort? You know, what will happen? And then there's another challenge that we were facing, which is over to Bhaskar.
Yeah, I mean, from Nepal, I see another problem. When supporters visit, they go home with fresh stories, fresh energy. But how do you reach those who will never be able to travel to Nepal? How do you make that 5,000-mile distance disappear? How do we translate what we have just experienced into something real for people who weren't there? So that's the tension we were trying to solve, geography and distance. The question of whether it's possible to create genuine connection with across continents between the work and a group of people in a room in London. And yeah, that's another challenge for us.
Sure. So that is the challenge. The few people who can travel have an amazing time, but of course, not everyone can travel, not everyone can afford to travel, and we don't even want everyone to be getting on planes. So that was our challenge. And we also thought, what can we do compared to big charities that's really authentic to us? Well, how can we really like lean into our expertise? So just to kind of summarize some of those things, what large charities can and can't do. So we all know that large charities can afford fancy venues, they can get celebrity speakers, they can put on big fundraisers that can get the tens of thousands of pounds, they can leverage auction items, they've got the volume to make it worth it, and you know, they've got the production. But much more importantly, what large charities cannot do, they cannot possibly talk to everyone in the room. It's not feasible. They can't create intimacy on that kind of a scale. It's just not going to be possible. They can't really facilitate genuine participation. The people will much more be receivers, and the people on the stage will be the givers. It's hard to build relationships effectively. Also, it probably is very hard for them to take risks. People have a certain expectation about a big charity that there's going to be quite a slick production. And as a small charity, we can lift that off ourselves. We don't have to come under that perfect. And actually, we know that people respond well to authenticity and they're very kind if things aren't kind of quite perfect. Sometimes that just gels that support even more and makes people even more on our side. So again, just to go back to the challenge, Bhaskar's going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do and what we are, the message we are trying to convey to our audience.
So who are we? In a nutshell, like Child Rescue Nepal does 3 core things. We rescue children from places they've been trafficked to, from exploitative situations, from danger. And second, we restore them through trauma-informed care, healing, education, and vocational training. And third, we work towards reintegration, either to their families or into independence. None of this work happens without people 5,000 miles away who believe in our work, what we're doing. But how do we make this work real to them? That's we always think about.
Yeah. The age-old problem, which I'm sure you will face as well. So my colleague and I were just back from Nepal, and We knew in the calendar we had an event coming up. We didn't really have much form, so we actually just went away and started throwing around ideas. Again, we've kind of said we wanted to get away from this traditional PowerPoint lecture kind of thing. We wanted people to know that, you know, the effort had been made. So we came up with the idea of 4 different stations around the room that people could visit. So after they came in, they would then be hosted on a table by different people and have a kind of interactive activity that they could take part in. So I'm going to tell you about those 4 stations. This is surely the best slide that AI has ever created. When I tell you it went downhill, this is where we went from the first one and we ended up here. Anyway, so we had Journey to the Mountains, the Shadow Side, Heart Maps, and Momos and Futures. I shall tell you more details, but this was the overall master plan. This was the master plan. So instead of a presentation, people would move through the story and experience it. And at every station, they had an activity to do. So they weren't just listening, they were participating. We had to think quite carefully about the invitation because we didn't want people to be scared. If you called it an immersive evening, there was a possibility that people would not want to come. So we needed to give them enough information that it sounded fun and intriguing, but not that they were going to be having to do things they didn't want to do, or be put on the spot, or be embarrassed, or be scared. Or so we had to kind of pitch that on our communications. So number 1, Journey to the Mountains. So first of all, as people came through the door, they had a welcome and they followed footsteps that were on the floor and they came into the room. And when they came into the room, they received a traditional Nepali welcome. We put a scarf on them, which every time we go to Nepal, we are welcomed beautifully in every place we go. So we have quite a stash that we bring back with us. So we had no shortage of scarves that we could bring back. And then they went to the first station. So the first station was called Journey to the Mountains. And we just transported people to Nepal by showing photos and talking about river crossings and what the roads are like, what the mountains feel like when you're there. And this was shared by a member of staff who'd recently come back and so had really got like fresh experiences. And there was like no control. There was no script. It was just share what matters to you, share what you remember about this, share what impacted you. So for me, it's always baby goats. It has really nothing to do with our work, but I am very taken by baby goats. Share what's really there. And then we grounded them into, this is where we're working with schools, and this year a school needs nutrition. So we'd started a kitchen garden, and then we gave them seeds, real seeds, soil in their hands, plant a pepper seed. So that was what we got people to do. And we gave everybody a little brown paper bag so that they could take away everything that they'd got in their bag. So that was quite fun. Then we really shifted the tone into our real work. We didn't sugarcoat it. We talked about the reality of child labour, exploitation, trafficking. And this was done by our safeguarding trustee, who's visited many times and who really embodies and understands the work. She talked about why rescue is necessary and the vulnerability of the children that are at risk. And we had a brass statue that we'd brought back from Nepal, which was the kind of thing that children work on in metal factories that they polish with acid. And it's kind of quite heavy. And that was a really good visual thing to pass around. What we didn't really expect was that people would just have so many questions, because normally in a big setting, people don't really want to put their hand up and ask questions. They feel a bit exposed and they just don't want to do that. But if you sit around a table with a handful of people and someone's there who's got the first-hand experience, we couldn't stop them asking questions, but it was really lovely. So we handed around the statue, we talked about the reality of rescue, and then we gave people the chance to do something practical. And this was one of the best kind of connecting experiences we did. So we gave people cards and we asked them to write a message to a newly rescued child, something that is encouraging, something that is kind. And so people set to work on writing messages to newly rescued children, just saying, again, we didn't police this, we didn't control this, we just let people say what they wanted. And that was really, really powerful, watching people do that and reading the messages afterwards, just so very emotional and really kind. So these are some of the messages. We gave people stickers. We just made it fun. I can see, this is your first day or your first evening of your life getting better. Eat, sleep, enjoy some good things. You are in a safe place. So that was a really good connecting thing that we were able to do. Then the next station was heart maps. So part of the restoration and healing from trauma is that we get young people to draw heart maps, and inside the heart is things that they love. Outside the heart is things they don't like. So this one's got, I love my grandmother, I like bananas, I like dogs, I like the police uniform and I want to become one of them. I like hot summers, should come here, shouldn't they? I like playing football. And things they don't like. I don't like alcohol, don't like the dark, don't like my owner, don't like walking barefoot, don't like carrying heavy loads. Like really, really kind of emotional stuff. But so we were able to share one of these with people around the table. And then we asked people to do their own heart maps. Again, we wanted them to do something interactive. And we had felt tip pens and we had the paper and we had these as inspirations. And we just wanted people to understand and experience one of those healing processes that we do with the young people. So this was one that somebody did. Obviously, I didn't quite understand the brief of what goes outside it, but you get the idea. So I like my family. I like the smell of cut grass. I like sleeping. I love waking up, playing games, helping people. So everybody did one of these and took that home with them as well. They weren't asked to share it. It was a personal thing, as it was with the young person who did it. It was anonymous. But so we asked people to do one of those and take that home. And then we got on to the food element. So at the last station, we served momos, which are steamed dumplings from Nepal, and we knew a Nepalese restaurant around the corner, and they were delivered. So we were able to bring some authentic food. Not fancy, everyday food, home food. And as people were tasting them, we told them the story of Bega, who was forced to work in a restaurant when he was very young. But we were able to rescue him, trace his family, and support him through his education. And when he finished his education, he chose to train to be a chef. And you can see here, he's actually teaching our supporters who visited how to make momos. So he's really, really great and really empowered. And so we were able to tell that really positive story as people were eating the momos. And then the takeaway from that particular thing was we'd done a recipe card so that people could go home and make the momos themselves. So then, stop. Then we gathered everybody together because we wanted to have a gathering, and we took the opportunity to introduce two of our marathon runners. So there's two young women who were running the marathon for us. And this was in February, so the marathon was coming up in April. And they both stood up and said why they were running for Child Rescue Nepal. And that was really great because it cemented their connection to us, because otherwise sometimes you don't even see the marathon runners. They're somewhere around the country. You don't get to connect with them. So they really got to experience our work. But more importantly, they got to make a relationship with our donors. Our donors thought, oh, these are our marathon runners this year. We'll support them. We'll fund, we'll sponsor them and follow their journey. So that was just another aside of how we could bring people together. And then this was very fun. So, hang on a minute. Oh, no. How do I get rid of that thing at the bottom? It's just running away with me now. So then this was our really fun piece of interaction. Yeah, Bhaskar, what happened here?
We wanted to take the connection even further. So young people at our care home recorded themselves doing a dance so they could teach it to our supporters.
Yeah, so the dance teacher and the young people did the dance for us, and then we showed it. Hang on. It's just like there's a bar across the bottom, so I can't get to what I want to go. Okay,
yeah,
so
you might be able to move the bar, Jo, if you sort of click and drag it up and to the left and the right, or right a little bit.
Genius. I'll try that next time. So in the room, this happened. I'll show it again because it's so good. Stop. I can't tell you how brilliant that was. It was just a moment, a brilliant, brilliant moment. And some people asked me to send it to them later so they could practice it at home. They wanted to practice the moves. It was so lovely. They really loved it. And then to close the circle, I sent that video back to Bhaskar to show the young people. And how did that go?
It was lovely seeing their faces when we showed it to them. Sorry, can you hear me? These people 5,000 miles away were learning our dance. There was lots of laughter, and then like kids were like, enjoying it as well. Like, yeah, so there was a real connection there.
That was very, very, very sweet moment. That worked. It worked so well. It really worked so well. And then another thing that we did, Bhaskar.
Yeah. You gave me, when you came next, like in Nepal, you brought lots of cards with you, and then we scanned all those cards and translated them into Nepali. We are in the process of producing it as a book, and there will be a copy in every care home, so that newly rescued children can flick through it and receive messages of hope. So yeah, that's simple.
So that's the plan. This one's so sweet. Hello, I'm sure you will like it here, although you may not have been free to wander and dream before. Hopefully now in this safe space you can find out what makes life beautiful to you. You matter. Good luck. I love that one so much. So this is a kind of long-term project that will stay in the care home. So that was the event. Crazy times. So what were some of the kind of more practical outcomes? So we had one new regular giver. Our major donor, who'd been maybe a little bit flaky, set up a direct debit of $300 a month. The marathon runners were inspired and felt part of something. Supporters definitely felt connected. And it was a real mix of ones that had come to everything, ones that was the first thing they'd come to, or they'd come with friends. So it was a real mix. We invited volunteers to come, and they felt part of something. And one of the stations was actually hosted by someone who's completely new to the charity, but had come on the trip. But she'd only come on one trip, and she felt confident to host a table. So it was actually a good opportunity to not use people in a bad way, but actually involve and get people presenting, is like get them on the other side of the charity so they feel part of you, very embedded and really cemented. So it's a great chance to have volunteers there. And I think, like I said, people asked the questions they'd always wanted to ask, but the smaller setting made that possible, which again, a big charity would really struggle to be able to do that. They wouldn't have the resource to do that, or the setting really. An unexpected outcome. One of our donors was so enthusiastic that he started chatting to a stranger on the train journey home who runs one of the livery companies in London, and then put us in touch, and they invited us to put in an application, which I've done. So that was crazy. Intangible, there was so much love in the room. I think as a charity, you want the supporters and donors to love you. You don't want them just to know that academically you're doing a good job. You want to feel the love, because that's the people who stay with you in hard times. Those are the people who step up and who support. And people became advocates, not just donors. I think because they'd experienced something and felt something, it was much easier for them to go and tell other people, because they had a different experience, not just an academic one. So I'm going to say it again, people give when they feel emotionally connected to something. So I think it worked because it was creative, it was engaging, it was intimate. We used trustees and supporters. We connected the real experiences to people in the UK. It didn't cost a lot of money, it had a high impact, and it was hands-on, sensory, memorable. And people had something to take away as well, that, they'll remember us. They won't forget us when they see their seeds growing, or we'll report back when the book makes it into the care homes. What we would do differently, if you want to try and do something like this, I would recommend quite a big physical space, because there was just a lot of noise, a lot of chats, and we were in quite a small space, so that kind of made it hard to hear with the people who were hosting. We had a crazy system for rotating. We thought people would come in batches. I think I would probably say stagger people arriving, actually. because people all almost came at the same time, and then they didn't go in order, and then I had to go on and who's done this table. So it needs somebody just to organise that a bit better. And I think we could have done longer if it actually felt quite rushed. So even more space to it. And we didn't take many photos because we were too busy wondering about which table was going to go where next. Anyway, it was brilliant though. It was super fun. So that's really the end of the presentation, but I wanted to see if you wanted to have a quick think about what you can do to bring your work closer to donors. So you might not feel you can launch into a crazy event like this, but if you were to hold an event and you had a kind of 15-minute slot or a 10-minute slot for some kind of creative participatory experience, how could you do that?